And that's how Equestria was made.
Cheerilee concluded her little history lesson. She turned away from the blackboard to face the class, and what was at once struck by how eerily unfamiliar the scene still felt. Ever since the board had decided to change up the groups and put her in charge of the fillies and foals who needed some extra attention, things had been taking a turn for the worst. She was used to seeing students off at the end of the year and welcoming new ones back in the beginning of the next, of course. But despite that, getting a new group assigned to her out of the blue just didn't feel quite right. Especially not this group, Cheerilee thought as she gritted her teeth in pure frustration. It became at once clear that no filly or foal in the room had actually been listening to a word she had just said, as per usual. Instead, Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo were having a hushed conversation, while Silver Spoon and Diamond Tiara seemed to be more inclined to admiring each other's jewelry instead of concentrating on the lesson at hand. In the back row, Snips and Snails were laughing at something that could only ever be amusing to the likes of them. A smile suddenly crept onto Cheerilee's face as she noticed there was, in fact, one single filly who seemed to be paying attention.
Oh, Apple Bloom, would you mind explaining the importance of the day-night cycle to your less attentive classmates?
Cheerilee asked as cheerfully as she could manage. To her great surprise, and even greater annoyance, Apple Bloom seemed to veer up at the mere mention of her name, looking around the room, somewhat panicky.
I suppose I can, let's see here now,
Apple Bloom said as she scratched her head.
Night and day are important because if there were only one or the other, either Lunar or Celestial would be very sad?
She concluded with a small raising a hoof and a "that's it right" gesture. Cheerilee gritted her teeth once again. Of course, the one filly who had been paying attention hadn't understood a word she'd said. As Cheerilee opened her mouth to formulate a chastising response, Scootaloo suddenly interjected.
That's stupid. Really, who could ever come up with a reason as ridiculous as that?
She pointed a hoof towards Apple Bloom.
I don't see you come up with a better answer either. I bet you don't even know what you're talking about.
Apple Bloom retorted just as loudly as she crossed her hooves in front of her chest.
Oh yeah? Why did I get a better grade on that last test then?
We all know you cheated.
Did not.
Did so.
Did not.
Did so.
Did. Girls! This is neither the time nor the place to hold such pointless debates. You're here to learn and pay attention, and that goes for all of you. Yes, you too, Diamond Tiara. Don't look so surprised.
She paused one moment as she met the gaze of every filly and foal in turn, as they were finally quiet for once.
I'd have thought the topic of today's class would be exceedingly interesting to young ponies who, like you all, witnessed Princess Luna's return, a major historical event that shed much light on our country's history and origins.
Oh yeah?
Apple Bloom chimed in.
She was stuck on the moon for 1,000 years, right?
The moon? That's impossible. Not even Rainbow Dash could fly that high. Besides, why would she eat for 1,000 years? The moon doesn't exactly look grassy from where I'm standing.
At this, Apple Bloom remained uncharacteristically silent as she pondered the question.
She could just eat cheese, right? The moon's made of the stuff.
Cheerilee rolled her eyes as she planted her own hoof against her forehead.
Oh, it is so!
Him?
Came a more serene voice from beside the two, as Sweetie Belle moved her head closer to the pair.
I'm sorry, Apple Bloom, but I have to agree with Cheerilee here. The moon can't be made out of cheese.
By this point, the other fillies and foals had pretty much reverted to their own activities again, as Cheerilee stood softly bumping her head into the blackboard, completely at a loss about how, in the hay, she could get through to these ponies. She stopped doing so as she heard Sweetie Belle's calm voice, and her ears rose up as she listened. Perhaps at least one of them had some sense in her yet.
It can't be made out of cheese.
Sweetie Belle stated confidently.
Because if it was, Luna would have eaten a huge hole in it by now.
Oh yeah.
Apple Bloom said as comprehension dawned in her eyes.
I suppose that makes sense. No!
Cheerilee screamed as she turned around.
It does not! It does not make any sense at all! The moon isn't made out of cheese because you know... forget it! Class dismissed! You all have the rest of the day off. Go!
She pointed wildly at the door, not trusting herself to be able to keep calm in the company of these impossible foals and fillies for even a moment longer. She thought she might start breaking things if this went on. All of the foals and fillies in the classroom quickly got up from their desks, nearly galloping to the door.
What's up with her?
Skidoo asked as soon as they got out of the room, but when they were still well within earshot of Cheerilee.
I don't even know.
Apple Bloom said as she shrugged. They suddenly heard the telltale sound of shattering glass coming from the classroom behind them. They both looked back over their shoulder, looked at each other, shrugged, and continued on their way.